Hi everyone, today we have the pleasure to speak with Kristen Facciol. She is a flight controller at Mission Control with the Canadian Space Agency. My name is Vanessa Van Decker. I'm a mechatronics engineering student and a mechanical and outreach lead at R3.
Hi, my name is Kelly Marcel, and I'm a biomedical engineering student and the media and outreach lead on R3.
Welcome, Kristen. To start us off, please describe your role and what a typical day looks like for you.
Thank you so much for having me. So as you mentioned, my role is as a flight controller, specifically a robotics flight controller. And what that means is I get to be a part of the team that operates all of the robotic systems on the International Space Station. So in terms of what a typical day would look like, this varies quite widely, which is one of the reasons I love this job. But we do things like prepare for missions, actually sit on console to do the real-time operations during those missions. So that involves planning for, reviewing procedures, getting all of the products ready, coordinating with multiple teams. Another cool aspect of what we get to do is train the astronauts on how to do robotics operations using Canadarm 2 and a whole other assortment of activities, but high level, that's what I get to do.
Wow, your days sound very exciting. And I'm curious to know, what was your first introduction to robotics and how do you foster that passion throughout your career?
I would say it was a brief introduction, but a good one. It happened in high school, and there was a robotics club that would meet early in the mornings in the cafeteria. And I happened to fall upon this group by accident because I was in there studying most mornings anyway. And I got really interested in what they were doing and what they were talking about. And, a lot of it started with just taking apart different things like remote control cars and helicopters and learning how they worked. And I thought that that was a really neat way to think of things. So that was kind of what started steering me in the direction of going into engineering. And it was really in second year when I got to build my own fully functional robotic system as part of a team where I realized, okay, this is absolutely what I want to do. This is just really cool. So I tried to look for opportunities to get involved in different disciplines that I could look for that would allow me to do that. And actually aerospace and biomedical were the two that I had narrowed my focus down to at first.
All the way from your high school robotics club to now being a key member on an elite team of professionals operating Canadarm and Dextre at the ISS. What is that team like that works with you, and how do you communicate effectively and work at your best with them?
It is an incredible team to be a part of. I cannot speak highly enough about the people that I have had the opportunity to meet and to work with through this journey. It's really neat to be part of such a high functioning, high performing team. But the thing that I love most about it is that we all have each other's backs all the time. So because it's such a high demand job and the hours can sometimes be a little bit challenging for us, we are always looking out for each other and finding ways to help each other out. So having open communication amongst the team is very, very important, and bringing people in when necessary and being honest when your workload is too high, because at the end of the day, the safety of the crew and the safety of the vehicle are our utmost priorities. And we don't want to risk ever sacrificing those things because someone is too tired or wasn't able to do their job thoroughly. So we're always looking out for each other. And we also have a really good communication process when it comes to lessons learned. So if there was something that didn't go quite right or something that we could have done better, then we bring that back to the team and we find ways that we can improve as individuals, but also as a team.
Thanks. And you mentioned that you teach astronauts about space robotics. So what is that like, and what do you enjoy most about that role?
It's really cool
Yeah.
in terms of what it's like. So we have the opportunity to be part of their overall training flow, their introductory training flow when they're first selected as astronauts. And that includes the astronauts from all of the partner agencies that are involved on the ISS program. It's really neat. So it is just an introductory robotics flow, but they get to come to the CSA and work with the simulators that we have there. And we have this incremental approach where we introduce them to all of these different components and then eventually how they all work together so that they can do operations like free flyer captures or support spacewalks once they get to the ISS. So it's just neat to work with that group because we're so used to operating in this ground control mentality and mindset and that way of doing things that it's really neat to see the way they think and the way they approach problems and to then look at what we do from a slightly different perspective as well.
You previously worked at McDonald Detweiler and Associates. What did you do in your role at MDA, which is an amazing Canadian company in the space sector working on space robotics like the Canadarm? And how did you transfer the knowledge and experience from that role to your current role at the Canadian Space Agency?
So I actually got to do a few things in my time at MDA. When I first joined, I was part of the systems team working on the next generation Canadarm, which was a system that was focused on on-orbit satellite servicing. So looking at doing repairs on orbit and refueling satellites on orbit, which was really cool because I joined the team right around the time the proposal was submitted and got to see that project through right until the end. So I helped with the requirement definition there within like the systems group, but then also as part of embedded software and stuff like that. And then also got to see it through to all of the integration and being able to be one of the operators of that system. So that was a really, really cool opportunity and a really great project to be a part of. From there, I stayed with MDA, but actually worked within the CSA as an embedded contractor doing real-time flight support as part of the Engineering Support Center, which is the team that supports the flight control team when we're on console. So they are our engineering backroom. So I started off in that engineering backroom, and it was really neat to see how the flight control team was operating and what we could do to help support them. So I used the knowledge that I learned in that role and then applied to be the team on the front lines that was doing the actual operations of the system.
I also have a personal question I would like to ask because I know you're an amazing advocate for women in engineering and robotics. In high school, I personally struggled envisioning myself as an engineer. So why do you think it's important to show the next generation that it's possible to be successful in non-traditional careers?
That's a difficult question. It's one that I often get asked, and it's often something that I struggle to answer because it's hard to say like, hey, just because I did this, that means you can do it too. But at the same time, it's really good to say, I was able to do this and you can do it too. So really what I try to do is just create that mentality and create that vision of a possibility where, you know, even if it's the younger women that I'm appealing to, but like really the entire next generation, anybody that identifies as part of any minority network or group, I really just want them to know that there is a place for them, regardless of where they want to go. And there shouldn't be any roadblocks that will get in their way. And wherever they want to end up, there is a place for them. And I try to foster an inclusive community and to let people know that there were things that I struggled with as I went through my career. And we are all going to face some of those challenges at some point. And there are people that you can talk to that will help you to get through that. I really do believe that having diversity in the workplace is absolutely critical to the success of a team, because when you have different perspectives and different backgrounds that you're bringing to something, you're going to be more successful at the end of the day. So just bringing people together from all of those different backgrounds, I think is really critical. And even if I'm only representing a small portion of what those could be, I'm just happy to be someone that they could say, hey, I look like her, or I act like her, I have the same interests as her. Maybe this is something that I could pursue and something that I could do in the future.
That is great to hear. It's something that we're really passionate about, and we definitely feel that way when we're looking up at you thinking, oh, we'd love to have a career in robotics, and we can see, wow, like Kristen's doing it, maybe I can too. So I have a fun question for you now. On our team, we have a RoboSub, which is an underwater robotic submarine, and it can do some pretty cool maneuvers like barrel rolls or shooting torpedoes.
That's awesome.
So thanks. So you have some amazing robots that you get to drive with Canadarm and Dextre, and I wanted to know, what are your favorite maneuvers to perform with them?
First off, I just want to say that, you know, having an underwater robotic system is very much like having a robotic system in space. You're operating in an off-nominal type environment with very harsh conditions around you. So I find that they're very, very applicable to each other. My favorite maneuver, there's been a couple. I remember there was one when I was working as part of the SpaceX 17 team where we did kind of this space pirouette while holding on to the Dragon vehicle. And I found it was a very elegant maneuver to watch. I don't find we do a lot of the same repeated things all of the time, so it's hard to pick one specific thing. But there was also one on a recent mission that I worked as part of the robotic refueling mission. We did this cool maneuver where we were moving the big arm, SSRMS Canadarm 2, while holding on to Dextre. but we were using a frame of reference at the end of one of Dextre's arms and moving Canadarm 2 with respect to that. It was a cool thing to watch and to be a part of, and I loved putting that into the procedures and then getting to see that on orbit. So I'd say that was also one of my favorites.
Oh, that sounds so cool. I'd love to see it one day. Our last question is, what is your parting advice to students who would like to follow your lead and work in robotics and engineering?
I don't want to make it necessarily specific to robotics or engineering, but there are a couple of things that I would want to tell even my past self and anybody looking to make plans for their future. It's really important to look for opportunities that you're interested in, something that will challenge you, something that will push you beyond your limits. But even more important than that is to ask for those opportunities. I think a lot of the time we shy away from being open about what it is we want and being too afraid to say, hey, I'd really like to get involved with this, where a lot of the time that could put you in a more favorable position and take you one step further. And if they say, oh no, now is not the right time, you're not ending up in a worse spot. So if anything, you're making them aware that it's something you're interested in and potentially opening up a future opportunity for yourself. Another thing I like to say is to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I find the biggest moves that I've made in my career have been relocations from either Toronto to Montreal or Montreal to Houston, and the career changes that came with those. I was really afraid of those at first because I had gotten comfortable in what I was doing and I was afraid to start again from scratch, both in my personal and professional life. But I found it was really important for me to experience that discomfort because it really helped me to grow and to advance my career to where I've gotten to become a part of now.
Thank you so much, Kristen, for taking the time with us today to share your amazing expertise and experience. I know that it will inspire our students to reach for the stars and achieve their goals.
Thank you so much for having me and for the incredible questions. It was really great to speak to both of you today.
It was our pleasure.